Kakebe gozanya, bayo kakobako, koyo kukunonya, werake, obudde buzibe, wakitoko okuzanya, werake, nonyeza nembulwa, zinembulwa, werake, gwanyatako okuzanya, wemba mufumbulira. Chiunomo werake, chiunomo adawa, chiunomo werake, chiunomo adawa, chiunomo werake, adawa, chiunomo werake, chiunomo adawa. Wanjakira nga ekiro, ndabikira nga ekimya, nso kwalikolesebwa nze nakulaba kuba nalowooza oli malayika, maze munyenye mu bbanga nga nsaba oito okulabiko, ngatekudde olubege nga kunoonya funye ettangira zijakunoonya. Thank you. Good morning. I hope your morning is well. I'm just here to make it better. And this song goes to all the ladies in the house. Enjoy. Nsikirizewa okusemberera, nzikiriza kusemberere, nsikirizewa okutunuulira, oli ekifaananyi kye batannasiiga, Katonda yawunda ne yeewonya, nsikirizewa okukwatako mukwano. Anetta tonfuna bubi, nze munno nkwegomba kulamu abalongo abalina amaaso ng'agago. Nkwegomba, nkwegomba, bakuntondera nze bakuntondera, nzakusaanira, nzakusaanira, kusemerera buli wobeerawo bukuumi bwe mpulira nsikirizibwa n'okutunuulira omwana gwe w'oyugira zaabu yafuluma buli bw'onzika mirembe gye mpulira nyumirwa nnyo ng'ompulirizaako yongera onseseze nonyumirwa agobye n'omuti gy'okunya omuliro nsikirizibwa n'okubamu amagama tibyokola nkwegomba bakutundira zebakutundira zakusanira nkwegomba
Give it up one more time for Kenneth Mugabiles, please. Thank you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Are you okay? Is everyone doing fine? Are you all right? Yeah, welcome to the scientific edition of this one. Well, we're superstars and kings at the scientific events when it comes to high people. And of course, at least this time around, we have people in the audience, but the previous High People Music Awards, we are just, online and just, a few people, the hosts, the camera people, and all that stuff. Other than that, you're very most welcome to this FinTech Landscape Exhibition, 40 days, 40 FinTechs. All right, I'm going to be your host today, and I'm the king of radio here, King Wesley. I'm the PRO same time of the high people as well. So we're going to have quite a beautiful afternoon together. And of course, today I'll be joined with my co-hosts. We'll have Rita Caballero from Smart 24. Where is she? Yes, she's just right there at the back. And also, as well, Arnold Segawa from NTV as well. Where is this gentleman? All right. Well, you're most welcome. And of course, we're live on NTV at the same time as Smart 24 as well. So it's going to be quite a beautiful experience altogether. And we'll do chop, because we definitely have to be in the time. And of course, speaking of being in time, this is one of the first of its kind, 40 days, 40 FinTechs. It feels like, the 40 days of fasting that our Lord Jesus Christ spent in the wilderness, and after that, he was commissioned to a greater ministry. Perhaps this one here, we're doing 40, these are FinTechs here. FinTechs, financial inclusion, we're talking about for everyone, or digital inclusion for everyone. It's definitely going to be a beautiful experience. And I want to go straight into a different panelist discussions. We'll have at least amazing people here that I have here on the discussion panel, and I'll go straight into inviting them real quick. All right, and you've seen the story of where we have started from all together. All right, but really, before really doing that, let me have the high people explain 40 days, 40 FinTechs, and of course of this particular exhibition from the CEO High People. That's Innocent Kawea. Please, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the gentleman.
Radio, thank you so much. Thank you to the participants of the 40 Days for the FinTechs initiative. It's been the first time ever in the world something like this is done, but I'm glad we were able to make this happen together. Thank you so much. As high people, we continue to advocate for making sure a leveled playing field for financial technology and financial inclusion in general is put in place every single time. So we will not stop. And we cannot do it alone. We need to combine our voices. We need to speak. We need to work. We need to talk and make sure everything happens. We're very excited today to have in-house our own very own patron, Honorable Karvanga David, the Minister of State for Public Service. And we are very happy to have you all here. We believe these 2 days are not only going to change how financial inclusion is done in the world, but are also going to transform millions of lives in the years to come, and are also going to change how financial inclusion is going to be done any other time in Uganda. So we're very excited to host you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your stay today, and we hope you have fun and learn so much from the different players. We're very thankful to our stakeholders and partners, Modasbox, Crosslakes Technologies, and Moja Loop Foundation. Don't forget all the 41 FinTechs that participated, and we're also very glad for the support and the funding from the Gates Foundation. May you enjoy your stay and enjoy watching us live in this scientific edition of the FinTechs Landscape Exhibition. Thank you so much.
Another hand of applause. Thank you very much, Mr. Innocent. And of course, let me have the Moja Loop community manager video run through right away.
Imagine your life without banking. How would you pay your bills or store your money for safekeeping? For 2 billion people around the world, these challenges are very real. They buy food, share money with friends and family, and make dozens of other transactions every day, but they do it all in cash. As a result, they miss out on the security and other benefits of bank accounts and payment cards, while financial providers miss out on millions of daily transactions. When cash becomes digital, this all changes. People can spend and save money more easily and securely, and financial providers can access billions of new customers. Digital financial services are starting to spread around the world, but not nearly as fast as they could. One big reason is that providers have to build everything on their own. That means they have to charge high transaction fees that are hard for poor customers to afford, or they don't build anything for new markets at all. It also means that most services end up being a closed loop, where customers can only transact with other customers using the same service. Grace, for example, can use her mobile money account to pay her energy bill and buy groceries, but to receive her paycheck, pay her daughter's school fees, and send money to her parents back home, she still has to use cash. Because her employer uses one bank, the school uses another one, and her parents use a mobile money service that is different from the one Grace uses. If companies had a common platform to work from, they wouldn't have to worry about high costs and closed loops. Moja Loop is a way to build that common platform. Moja Loop is open source code for making digital payments secure and interoperable across an entire country or region. Named after the Swahili word for one, it can help loop digital financial providers and customers together in one inclusive system. So, when Grace receives her paycheck and sends money to her parents and her daughter's school, she can do it all digitally with a single account. Because behind the scenes, technology powered by Moja Loop is tying everyone's different services together. There are 3 main components to the code. An interoperability layer, which facilitates payments between different kinds of services, including bank accounts, mobile money wallets, and merchant accounts. A directory service layer, which routes each payment to the correct provider in the ecosystem, and a transaction settlement layer, which makes sure that all the money that changes hands between customers throughout the day is recorded in each provider's master ledger as well. Developers can use parts of the software to build or adapt financial products and services, or they can take the whole thing and build an internet of payments, routing transactions from anyone to anyone, instantly and securely. Moja Loop is open source so that anyone can use it and make it better. It's software for banks, fintech firms, systems architects, mobile operators, and tech companies. In a world where financial services have always left some people out of the loop, Moja Loop is a tool to bring us all together, because an economy that includes everyone benefits everyone.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're definitely going to go straight into our panel discussion. And of course, we'll be discussing democratizing and digitalizing savings and credit services. And of course, our panelists will be, I'll have quite an interesting team here. I'll have Mr. Oscar Ofumbi, head of business, Lend in a Box. Please clap for him as he actually moves forward to take a seat. And also, we'll have Jomo Uganda, and of course, Jomo Uganda will have a representative, that's the country operations, that's Wendy Namfo. Let's clap for Wendy as she moves forward as well. Thank you. If you don't clap for somebody, you also give birth to your children. They call them, and they don't clap for them. Thank you. What you sow is what you reap. Easy and simple. Anyway, we'll have Bloody Financial Services, good over John Mack to actually move forth too as well. And also we'll have Daisy Kavinya Mwanzia, Senior Manager Banking, MTN Group FinTech as well. Take a seat. Thank you. All right. Okay. Feel free to sanitize or sterilize, whichever way you think it is. Okay. I hope everyone is doing fine. Please say hello and introduce yourself in the best way possible, and we move forward. Meanwhile, welcome to this scientific edition. These masks are real, you know? Yeah, they are real, for real. Please, ladies first.
Good morning. Can you hear me? I take off the mask. Good morning. My name is Daisy Mwanzia. I work for MTN Group. We are across 17 operations in Africa. I work for the FinTech team, which is Mobile Financial Services. And my role is really to ensure that financial inclusion is implemented across Africa. So I take care of saving and lending and banking integrations.
Good morning. My name is Wendy Namfo from Jumawald, Uganda, and I'm in charge of country operations. Jumawald, as we have heard from the videos before, we offer financial services. And in Uganda particularly, we offer the Wewole product on the Airtel Money platform. We are in 6 markets and have offered services to 16 million customers. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Oscar Fumbi is my name, and I'm from Lend in a Box. What Lend in a Box does is it's focused on financial inclusion for SMEs, where we're able to provide the link between the banks, the insurance companies, and the SMEs. And so today is a good day, and I hope that we can have a beautiful discussion. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Goloba John Mark. I work with Bloody Financial Services. Bloody is a circle that was started by Uganda Land Board to transform communities through land development. So we basically provide finances to people to see that they can develop their land. Thank you.
All right, okay, I'll just drive straight, and I'll definitely go first with Mr. Oscar. You said you link, the links that you do between the banks and, I want to go straight to the question right away in your area of expertise. How do we ensure that people at the bottom of the pyramid are able to access and repay this credit that actually you even talked about?
Thank you. Our digital access is what is used to extend the credit down to the people at the bottom of the pyramid. And the beauty about digital access is that you have mobile money, you have a phone, you have, let's say, a smartphone as well. So the digital access is about how you receive the funds. For example, you receive them through mobile money. you should make the repayment through mobile money as well. So that is how we are able to facilitate that.
Interesting. And now I want to ask Wendy, is technology the way to go, really?
Yes, technology is definitely the way to go. However, I think it's not.
Wendy, just get your microphone a little bit closer. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I think technology is the way to go, but I still think there's a lot more that can be done.
Okay.
Especially in the fintech space, I think a sound business model is very important that focuses on the customer needs, one that investigates the actions and artifacts of all the touch points of a customer on the customer journey. The reason I say this is knowing who you're serving helps you really understand the data.
Okay.
And that way you are able to provide a product that actually best suits your customer without necessarily indebting them for the case of Jomo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's about knowing who you're serving.
Yes, you need to understand who you're serving.
All right, then it's a question that actually goes to almost everyone out there. Do you know who exactly you're serving, or you're just a gambler? You know? Sometimes people just, you just go the way forward. But anyway, I'll go to you, Glover, Sarah. Question is, what else that needs to be done?
Basically, it is very important for our people to embrace technology.
Yes.
You find that even the literates today have failed to fully embrace technology. You get to the bank, which have a self-help teller, but people can't access it. Most of them fear it. You'll find that even some people still fear to use ATMs to deposit their fees. So you find that most people have not really embraced technology. It is important that we sensitize our people. Now, when you're talking about the people at the bottom of the pyramid, there it is very important because it is a transformational process, which is going to take a bit of training these people, trying to provide these services as cheap as possible, trying to eliminate some kind of costs that are involved in transaction processes like taxes, because someone who is transacting, when you feel that is the amount they are sending or the amount they are transacting is not going to be fully delivered to the point where they're sending it, they feel as if it's a pinch in their pocket. So there is a lot to do to show them that there is need to embrace this technology to eliminate a number of transactional costs and risks. I'll give you an example. People dealing with circles, they gather together to extend credit to their members. And you'll find most of the time credit is given in that group, in that meeting. So everyone knows that John Mark has gotten money today. It is a risk. It means that on my way, I can be robbed. So embracing technology means that you are going to eliminate a number of risks on the way. And it is going to ease, also it eases the transactions and also improves efficiency. So we need to sensitize our people. It is very important. If we leave that sensitization away, then we may not get what we want. We may not involve everyone in this financial chain.
Yeah. Now, speaking about, involving everyone and also, sensitization, what's the best way do you think we can actually achieve this also at the same time?
One, we need to understand the needs of our people.
Yeah.
In the simplest way possible, so that we don't try to complicate things. People should get to know that when I want to use a certain platform, it's not going to be complex, it's not going to be so long. There must be simplified ways of transacting.
Yes.
We need also to find a way of grouping these people. I'm talking more about the people at the bottom of the pyramid.
Okay, exactly.
We need to group these people, make them have their clubs, have their groups, having their village saving organizations, so that we can easily access those services. We can easily train them. We can easily demonstrate how these services work. Because most of the times you'll find even us, this side, sometimes we get a bit tired of the processes, you know. You say you're sending money, you go here, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So you get tired of that process, which is a bit long.
Yeah.
So we need to simplify our processes so that these people can easily adopt.
That's a good one right there. Now I'll go to you, Daisy. Question is, how can the level 1 principle of tied KYC improve access of saving and credit services?
So as my fellow panelist has just said, simplification.
Yeah, simplification.
We can all agree it's easier to buy a phone line than it is to open a bank account.
Okay.
Because we use level 1 KYC. So we've really just simplified the process. We've then gone a step further and partnered with people who would need a lot more to open virtual bank accounts. So today, if you go to an MTN shop, you can buy a SIM card and have access to a saving account immediately.
Yeah.
After a period of time, you can get access to credit.
Yeah.
So level 1 has, the simple answer is simplification.
Simplification.
Yes.
Probably this is definitely going to be the last one. How can interoperability with technology like Moja Loop be instrumental to adoption of the formal savings and lending services? I'll definitely ask you, Wendy.
I think technology like Moja Loop for a company like Jumo would be quite a resource, would be a game changer, because it will provide us with an alternative source of data. And as John Mark was saying earlier, to be able to serve the person at the bottom of the pyramid, we need data. But this group of people do not necessarily, let's say, often use mobile money services, so we have very limited data to work with. But if we are able to plug into an API where we can be able to get data from other sources, let's say if you have an Airtel line but also have an MTN line, which is the case of most Ugandans, even if you don't often use your Airtel line, you can be able to know that you're transacting on your MTN line, and you can be able to qualify for a loan on another line. So that access of data will help us produce a product that is best suited to that customer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, for a company like Lend in a Box, how do you think Moja Loop really will be instrumental?
Thank you. In my humble opinion, Moja Loop brings a concept that we have all been looking for.
Yeah.
And to learn from, to borrow from her statement, being able to connect to different parties becomes extremely important. What Moja Loop is able to do, even to address the tied KYC, is to enable us to share data across different areas. For example, I have a Circle account, I have a bank account, I have a mobile money account. All these are integrated.
Yes.
But with one ID, I'm able to then move my information through different places and access the service that I actually want. So I think, in my opinion, that's the Moja Loop concept is perhaps something that we've all been waiting for. Exactly. So it's brilliant.
Interesting. I'll have a question from Mr. Patrick. If you can actually move forward. But in the meantime, as you're coming, I'll still forward the question to you, Daisy. Again, how does Moja Loop become very instrumental to the adoption of formal savings?
I think the key or the foundation of Moja Loop is interoperability.
Yes.
So it's putting all these 40 fintechs that we're hearing about today in one ecosystem. I don't have to be a customer of MTN or Airtel or Jumo or at a particular bank or particular circle, but I can access financial services regardless of who I operate with. The other thing that I see Moja Loop does is it simplifies operations. So things like settlements, things that people would find hard to sit and look at Excels.
Yeah.
So that kind of technology is really a good foundation to continue driving financial inclusion across the globe.
Ah, beautiful. Yes, Mr. Patrick Chizibu, please.
Thank you very much, first of all, for organizing such a wonderful function, given the conditions that we are in. You still pulled it off.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And the fact that we are being watched by 7.2 billion people in the world is another amazing thing. My name is Patrick Kizito from UGMAT Limited. You can find us on www.ugmat.ug. And we are a fintech company, and we provide several services like online shopping, digital schooling, and support other fintechs through an open API, which you can still find on our website. So my question to the panel, the entire panel, is one of the biggest challenges that we have in this space of digital lending is cyber security. My question, therefore, is have you experienced any such incidents? And for each of you, what measures have you put in place to avoid the repeated occurrence of such incidents? So you can advise the rest of the fintechs here on how to handle such incidents going forward. Thank you. You can answer in whichever order, but I would like to hear from each of you.
Well, I think we'll definitely do that. So, like, in one minute, you just, give us what is probably reply to his question. He's eager to hear from all of you. Yes.
I think one of the key concepts of our two-factor authentication is very important. But importantly is that there is cyber insurance today. And it's offered by AIG Uganda. And what that does, it helps manage that risk from the investigation, communication, the public relations that relates to it, and then also dealing with the information and how it actually goes out. So they even support in terms of covering the costs of either public relations or legal activities, because a data breach means that a regulator will more likely fine you for leaking information available in there. And of course, the challenge with cyber is that it could be a rogue employee, it could be a third-party provider, and so you can't exactly find out where the problem came from.
Yes.
So it's important that if you can externalize the risk in terms of having either insurance or using two-factor authentication, it will actually be a lot helpful.
Ah, interesting. Yes.
In terms of JUMO, what we do to be able to curb cyber risk, we have a team that is dedicated, and we make sure we emphasize that everyone in the company understands the risk of data and data leaking. And good thing is this has now become something big across Africa where data has to be protected. All the partners that we work with, you find that they have their own principles that they follow, and we also have principles that we follow, and each of us are liable if anything happens to any customer's data, even if it's just one customer.
Ah, so you have like a group of LDUs?
Yes, so that we have to call it that, that we have to follow guidelines and say, if we breach this, this phrase in the contract that, you give out, let's say, customer MSICNs to someone that shouldn't have them, you have to be held accountable for that.
Oh, interesting. Yes, Daisy.
I don't know if I'd call it cyber crime or cyber fraud, but what I've seen in most of our markets is customer impersonation. So you get a phone call and someone says, I'm calling from MTN, please give me your ID number, please give me your PIN. So what we've done is a lot of customer education.
Yes.
Your PIN is your information, don't share it, because that's how we then allow you to access this saving, how we allow you to access your credit. So we've done a lot of customer sensitization around, your own information, don't share it, as well as having a robust technical layer that ensures that your phone is tied to your MSISDN, that just closes the loop of our accessibility with you.
Interesting. Yes, sir.
Cyber risk is a very big challenge currently as we try to embrace technology. And it's a fear to many people because a number of us have been caught unaware, and we have lost some good money in such kind of risks. What we are trying to do is to involve the technical teams to be part of us, to see that at least we continuously audit our systems to define those risk points and try to find ways on how we can, we can define remedies for such, because it is not something, the challenge is not something that is going to just stop, because some of the people who are coming up with such dangerous innovations are well educated. As developers develop new systems and go and advance in technology, definitely they are also advancing. It's like a parallel party.
Exactly.
Which
it's more like a bottomless pit.
Exactly. So we have to continuously see that we keep on auditing our systems to find ways of stopping such.
Oh, beautiful. In a minute, if we actually, I'll just give me a closing remark. I'll probably give each one of you a minute to just, give me a closing remark, but I'll start with you.
One, I want to thank you for this opportunity, and we need to know that we can't live away with technology. It is technology now, everywhere. For us, we are dealing in land, basically, and you'll find that currently, when you come at Uganda Land Board, we have a palm vein technology which we use to transact. It is no longer just looking at your face, appending a signature, looking at the ID. You have to use such kind of technologies so that you can transact on issues concerning land. That is how technology has gone. So if you are not ready for technology, then you are going to lag behind. We have to embrace it, but we have to find ways of making sure that we develop systems that are secure, so that our people can build that confidence and be able to trust such transactions we make on different platforms that are coming up.
Thank you very much. Mr. Oscar.
I think what we need to do more is around policy.
Yes.
Because policy really drives the adoption and the activities that we get involved with. For example, before you get a driving permit, you must have a TIN number. Now, that draws you into an ecosystem of tax and other sides of the activity. So if we have policy like that, then adoption will be a lot easier, and then we'll see other activities running across it, because when we talk about an ecosystem, we're talking about the people that are involved. The people at the bottom of the pyramid, we have the bankers, we have the entertainment, we have everybody within the system. But if we cannot have that kind of policy, it gets difficult for adoption, and that's, I think, very important.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
I think one takeaway that something that we can all take away is we need to be, or fintechs need to be more customer-centric across all business functions. So it doesn't matter if you're an engineer, it doesn't matter if you're someone in data science.
Yes.
You need to know that the customer is at the center of it all. And the reason as to why I say this is because at the back of your mind, with whatever you're doing, you will understand that the customer needs come first, which quicken delivery and just makes work way easier. So if all companies have that at the center, it's just easier to make technology and work or any kind of innovations go faster without necessarily having to focus on just other things or like technology. Yeah.
All right, okay. Yes, my dear.
So just building on what all my fellow panelists have said, there's policy, there's customer focus, there's also driving strategic partnerships. So we continue to work with our governments, with our regulators, to drive financial inclusion, because really they allow us to operate. So we cannot forget their role in fintech.
Thank you very much. Please, can we give them a very big hand of applause? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this FinTech Landscape Exhibition, 40 days, of course, 40 days of FinTechs. Same time, tomorrow we'll be here. Yeah, tomorrow we'll be here again, same time, same place. So make sure you book that particular seat. You come back in the same seat. Don't you worry about it. But anyways, you definitely have to follow me on our way out a little bit. But right about now, let me invite Rita Kawanyoro from Smart 24 to come and just take us to another particular panel discussion one more time. Thank you very much. Please clap for us, all of us. Thank you.
Hello everyone and everybody watching. My name is Rita Kawanyoro from Smart 24 TV and welcome to the FinTech Landscape Exhibition. This is the state of Uganda and Africa's e-commerce. At this time, I take the opportunity to invite the very special essential workers. To begin with, we have Medi Matovu, is the CEO and founder of Lusuku. A hand clap for him as he's joining the panel, please. And we have got Nicholas Kamanzi, is the head of payments at Safe Border. Applause for Nicholas. Next, we have Damali Sali, is the trade development expert. Welcome to her, please. And we have Timothy Mugume, is Jumia Food Country Manager. Like I told you, they're very essential workers because even in the COVID times, we have seen them continuing to work. And now I take up to the panel. We're waiting for Timothy Mugume. Very well. Ladies and gentlemen, you're very welcome to the state of Uganda and Africa e-commerce. And I'm going to invite one of you individually to introduce yourselves in just 30 seconds, to begin with Timothy right here.
Thank you. Good morning to you all. My name is Timothy and I'm representing Jumia. It's been quite a very essential period for us, very crazy. But we are very happy to discuss our challenges and the opportunities that we've faced during the previous period. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mehdi, please.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mehdi Matovu. I'm the CEO of Lusuku. Lusuku is a garden online. So meaning anything that you grow in the garden can get you money in your pocket. So we're trying to develop an ecosystem where this entire process is somehow sustained and it's adding value to anyone and everyone that contributes to it.
All right, we cross to Damali.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Damali Sali and I am a trade development expert interested in e-commerce and anything to do with trade. Thank you.
Nicholas, please.
Morning, my name is Nicholas Kamanzi and I'm the head of payments at Safe Border. We are a ride-hailing company and recently we deliver essentials. That is maybe food, your shopping and pharmaceutical products. Thanks.
Yes, very well. As e-commerce players, how is the e-commerce business like? Where are the opportunities? We take it from you, Nicholas.
I mean, I think for us going into the the lockdown. Of course, like we had COVID and then we had to go into a lockdown. We were primarily doing like moving people from point A to point B. And when, of course, the president advised that we cannot move people, so we had to pivot our business very, very quickly to see like who has been affected by the lockdown, and that was like the restaurants, the small businesses, and so we pivoted our business to deliver essential products. And currently we have about 700 businesses. That's both restaurants and small shops. We also launched an initiative with UNCDF where we are trying to digitize the local markets. And I think like, of course the space is like very big, and we're very new to the e-commerce space. Of course, like players like Jumia and like other e-commerce platforms have been in the space for a while. But our thesis was like, how do we use our border drivers who are affected? How do we literally create more business for them? And of course, like we extending like 18,000 delivery men who are now don't have a job, and we are connecting that to the millions of people in Kampala who now don't have access to their shops and all these businesses. So I would say like for us we were trying to evolve the business and we were trying to react to the changes. So far we've seen like a lot of very good positive feedback, and I think like every e-commerce player has been on the forefront and they have seen a lot of growth. And of course there's been a lot of challenges. We had like at a point where we would only deliver up to 2 p.m. And there was a point where we would deliver, okay, that was extended. And of course there's curfew issues, but generally like we've seen like a very good uptake of e-commerce. And I think, of course we've seen like a downtime for the other side of the business, but e-commerce has been like very, very important for us. Yeah.
All right, please. Mehdi, please share with us how the business is like and the opportunities where there is.
Okay, so the previous 3 months showed us something that is very, very valuable to our communities. It actually had a term for it. They were called the essential services. So these are sectors that have been ignored for the longest time, and the average person is interacting with such services. So we need to find a way of organizing these people, add value to their input entirely. And then, of course, the opportunity lies in how you change the attitude, how you address the mentality about the entire sector. A case in point would be, how are you going to convince someone that getting a kilogram of onions is better than Ndewe, or you know the local term, how they're used to tally them. So adding that value to the entire chain and the entire transaction is where the real opportunity would lie, and any e-commerce platform should focus on that. Because eventually, if we ignore these things, they are coming to us and reminding us like, you need this, you need that. So we need to find a way of looking at them as tools that are addressing the problems in our society, not just an e-commerce platform that is fancy and the images are looking fine, but for instance, you can look at it in a way of traffic. You noticed what happened during the lockdown. You get someone to take care of your errands, you know, and you focus on the things that matter most.
All right.
So as someone who's interacting with the system, the attitude has to change, and you look at it as something that is going to contribute to your well-being.
All right,
That's
please.
a real opportunity now.
Okay, it's a great opportunity, very transforming millions of people actually in Uganda. Let us take it from you, Timothy. How is the e-commerce business like?
There have been quite a number of opportunities that have arisen out of this. I think the challenges have been well documented by the panelists here. We needed to act fast on 2 fronts. 1, to maintain the convenience of customers, and 2, to ensure that the safety measures were adopted. So the first one was changing the mindset of our delivery providers, our vendors, partners, to ensure that we mitigated and were facing the challenge head on. The health comes first, right? So we came up with contactless delivery, where we start to give a couple of codes to the e-commerce customers, and then for food, we promoted more of online payments, which is also something that has been, I think, the biggest opportunity throughout this. So we've seen a big uptake of online payments compared to cash on delivery. And we needed to ensure that all services, that every person, every customer had access to all the services they do on a daily basis. And at the same time, the vendors were supported. So we went out to help most of the vendors secure permits to move around town, which strengthened our relationships with them. But most importantly, we were also getting to share with them on the challenges that they were facing, and the opportunities that came up would be the segments that they were not providing. Case in point, for restaurants, providing cheaper meals, providing packaged meals for people at home, but also that the scope and the area of delivery needed to change. And we also did a lot of warehousing for the fast-moving consumer goods. We noticed that even when the shops were closed, people still needed to buy electronics. If you had never bought a TV and you're now most of your time is watching TV, you had to buy a big one. You had to buy better appliances at home. So we needed to ensure that the economy kept moving amidst all the challenges, and the opportunities that came up there were people who were able to stock and from products away from home. And we saw a big number of people who were trading from their homes.
All right, please. At least I got to test one of your services about the delivery. And this one is straight to Damali. Do you think e-commerce entities are getting it right in terms of customer satisfaction?
Taking it from a trade perspective, I would say that there is still a lot to be done. Take, for example, in 2018, the Bank of Uganda issued a paper which said that informal cross-border trade was valued, for Uganda, was valued at 2.8 trillion Uganda shillings. I would like to see the players in e-commerce, the Jumias, the Safe Borders, the Lusuku here, be able to leverage their platforms to catalyze such trade. That amount is a huge amount, 2.8 trillion Uganda shillings, and yet we do not have any e-commerce platform player targeting them. And it's not necessarily a charitable event. I mean, they will be making money off each transaction, but they're not targeting those people. And for me, personally, I would be very interested to see that the 70% of the women who are involved in informal cross-border trade and who currently face the challenge of physical and sexual harassment as they go about their trade, if they're able to use an e-commerce platform and remove themselves from that, from the need to be physically involved, it will help them a lot so that they can actually trade. But for the e-commerce players, it's not necessarily a charitable thing. This is 2.8 trillion Uganda shillings worth of an informal economy. So they'll be making a lot of money out of it. I don't know how much they make out of the current Kampala type economy that they are working on, but I would urge them to look at these informal cross-border trade numbers and really focus on that. And maybe the other point I would like to make is that in Uganda, internet penetration is only at 37%, which is very low compared to, say, Kenya, which has internet penetration which is around 80%. And there is a direct correlation between internet penetration and the ability of an economy to benefit or realize the benefits out of e-commerce. So as long as our rates are still that low as an economy, it will be difficult for all Ugandans to benefit out of an e-commerce economy. So we need to work on that. But conversely, also, the e-commerce players can innovate products that target players who don't have access to online. Look at the mobile money revolution. It targeted everyone. It developed a product that someone with a smartphone or someone with a capability can still use to do mobile money. So the e-commerce players who are currently here, they need to innovate for our context. For Uganda, for example, people are not online, people are using capability. Our informal economy is huge. It should not be ignored. A lot of women are involved in it. They're mostly selling agricultural produce and locally manufactured goods. How do you target that? How do you ensure that your e-commerce platform is actually inclusive? It should not only look at the Kampala people who can afford internet, who can download your app. It should include everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
I really agree. It goes back to knowing your customer, like my colleague said earlier in the previous panel. And now we go to Nicholas to share with us how does the level 1 principle of the same-day settlement set a better e-commerce breeding environment?
Yeah, I mean, so to answer this question, I would like to give an example. So we launched the local markets again in the same process. And of course, we were going at it from before, when we had like safe borders, we were paying them like every 7 days. So if you collect any e-payment, like from mobile money, we are doing it in 7 days. And then we kind of shortened that time period to paying them every other day. So 24 hours, we pay you out. Now, when we went into e-commerce and we go to the local markets, we actually discovered that these guys use the money and then they have to go in the evening or like very early in the morning and restock. And so if you're not paying them like immediately or like every 4 hours, they are not going to adopt your product. And so again, going back to customer satisfaction, the vendor is not going to be satisfied and it's going to be like, I don't like e-commerce because you're paying me after 24 hours, yet I need to restock my, my products. And so what we've discovered, and we had to be very flexible and say, okay, so for local markets, we are going to pay them more frequently, even when we know that maybe MTN or Airtel is paying us every 2 days. We are going to make sure like, there's enough money to pay the local markets almost immediately. And that improved the experience and improved the uptake, and a lot more people are willing to adopt the service because they know they are going to be paid every 4 hours instead of like them waiting for the money. And so like that's like a level 1 principle that is Moja Loop, of course, like pushes a lot. Like how close to like someone liquidating their cash are you? So if that experience is not immediate, like these guys are running a business. They're not, it's not just e-commerce. They have people who walk to the market. If e-commerce is giving them a lot of sales and they're not liquidating that money, they are going to shy away from the product. And so if you're not very flexible, they are not going to adopt your product, however much you're giving them a lot of sales. So I think like that flexibility has to be there. And how do you then like have that experience scale across like all the value chain that you have? And then we're going to see like a lot of customer satisfaction for that specific vendor. They're going to talk to other vendors about the experience. Other vendors are going to want to adopt. And so it makes the job of scaling e-commerce easier.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go to Damali. In 2 minutes, share with us your take on the level 1 principle of the same-day settlement.
So international best practice indicates or dictates that ideally a good e-commerce environment should be able to settle the debts or the liability of the person at the end of the transaction in that same day. Take, for example, if right now I order from Jumia 1 kilogram of tomatoes from Kalere, a woman at Kalere, and my tomatoes get delivered in 1 hour. So the same-day settlement dictates that that woman should receive her money before the end of the day. The reason for that is that, one, she's the most vulnerable in this entire value chain. I've paid Jumia, I've got the tomatoes, I've paid through, say, MTN mobile money. Of the 4 people involved in this value chain, she's the least able to afford a loss of income, even for 1 day. I can afford it, Jumia can certainly afford it, MTN can afford it. And in a way, if she doesn't receive her money today, we are really exploiting her for no good reason. It also means that she can't sell her tomatoes to someone who walks in. It also means that she doesn't have income to restock immediately. And she may not actually have enough income to feed her kids today, because maybe that profit is what she was going to use to feed her kids. So the same day, same settle dictates that the people who are most vulnerable at the end of these value chains should not be exploited by the big players in say, an e-commerce transaction. And I'm not on the other end. I'm not in e-commerce, so I don't know what our e-commerce players are doing. I'm glad that Nicholas has just said that they're actually settling same day. It would be interesting to hear from the other gentlemen on this panel on if they're indeed settling these things on the same day.
Very well, just like you said, you want to hear from the gentleman. We have got Mehdi next to you. Share with us in just 1 minute
All right. So same-day settlement in our space is mandatory because the people we're dealing with, their capital base is really small. So you can't hold on to their money for any reason or whatsoever. You have to settle immediately so that they can be able to carry on the next transaction the following day.
All right, Timothy, what do you think?
I agree with everyone. We do instant settlement for the markets, and we've had to come up with different partnerships to be able to accommodate this due to the fact that the basket sizes also vary, the different players will have different requirements, but with instant settlement it means that we have selected a couple of people in the market who we call market agents. The market agents will be equipped with some float or some money, and they'll actually be the ones to handle and make the cash payments directly to enable the vendors to continuously get to trade. Because we've seen that, of course, e-commerce will be exposing them to more vendors, to more customers, and also their transactions on a daily basis will increase significantly.
All right, and the next one will go to you, Timothy. Do you mind, pulling it down? Because we have the social distancing, actually. What is your take? Now we have got advents of Facebook, Facebook Pay, shops, Facebook Pay bills. What impact do you think they have on e-commerce?
I think it's...
in Africa?
It's all dependent on one factor, and that is the internet penetration, as Damalis talked about. All these payment platforms will be easy for a customer to pay, and we have to look at the penetration, two, the charges that are got into it. If it is more data, someone will always prefer cash. And so it's one of the things that we could continuously fight. How do we lower the cost of internet? How do we remove OTT? Because it is a genuine barrier. The fact that Facebook payments have come, WhatsApp payments have come, shows that the potential of the financial space in terms of accessing finances from your wallet to make a payment of a service that you are consuming from a panel, from any channel, means that we need to address these as proper business channels. People are actually making money off this, and we are able to pay their taxes. So we should remove the barriers to enable open trade from them.
All right, let's cross to you, Mehdi, to share with us what impact you think Facebook shops and Facebook Pay wills have got on the e-commerce platform in Africa.
All right, so Facebook offers a huge opportunity to small companies, and this kind of gets rid of the bottlenecks that have been prevailing in the market for so long. But I would want to look at it in two ways. One is the fact that you have so many players on the platform creates that healthy competition. That means it offers transparency ranging from prices, competitive prices, a variety of products which you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Then on the other end, as big players, they tend to know where their core competencies should be. So in this regard, if someone is offering better pricing and someone is promising free delivery, I think there comes a time where you need to shift from competing for that small thing of free delivery, like the only value addition that you're offering to customers, to things like moving to maybe better packaging, maybe offering, for instance, Lusuku. I'll use Lusuku as an example. We intend in 4 years' time to have a data center where anyone who has some sort of capital can look at our analytics and look at our data and know what kind of products they should invest in. So precisely all I'm saying here is with the advent of Facebook Pay, encouraging all these small players to sell onto the platform and showcase their products, gives an opportunity to the big players to focus on the things that really matter and things that should add value to the community and the entire ecosystem, for instance, in agriculture.
All right, please. We're soon wrapping this up. We have got a question from the audience and Emily's over there walking up to take it and share with us what she has to share.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nakabuye Emily Sonia, and I'm an intern working with High People. So my question is for Nicholas Kamanzi. As Safe Border, how are you ensuring that your 20,000 users of Safe Border are coding during these COVID-19 times? How do you know? Because as we all know, the borders these days don't carry people. So how are you ensuring that the people who are working with Safe Border, the border guys, your border guys, are coping with this COVID-19?
Yeah, I mean, so there is, first, we strongly believe there's SOPs that can be put in place to allow borders to take people. But, so some of the things that we've done on the financial side, so we had Safe Borders who had loans, either you have a bike, because we're giving two types of loans, cash loans and bike loans. And so if you had a loan, we paused any repayment for 3 months, and we are thinking about extending those covers as well. But then the other one is how do we get them to be more productive? Because if our industries and our markets are not productive, we are not going to see any form of recovery. So that's why we started doing essential deliveries to try and get them to at least earn something. And of course, we are thinking around what other things can we be doing to increase their output at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, they have families that depend on them. And if they cannot earn any money, I mean, we've seen most of them have gone back to the village. And of course, productivity has to happen as we all recover from COVID-19. And deliveries and some exemptions from loans that they had, which is a financial burden. Some of the things that we have done and continuing to do.
All right, thank you so much. I hope Emily's question has been answered. And now we're soon wrapping it up with you, Damali, to share with us what must e-commerce businesses improve on as you wrap it up.
I think for me personally, I was once on a road trip and I went through Konakamdini and I bought honey at Konakamdin. It's the best honey I've ever had. And I would like to be able to get that honey anytime I want to. So I'd like the e-commerce players to develop platforms in which I, Damali, with a smartphone can order for honey from a woman at Konakamdin who has a kabiriti, and that honey gets delivered to me, and I'm ready to pay a premium so the platform players, get their money, but the woman also gets her sell. But I think what is it? 40 Days FinTechs has been talking about interoperability of systems. Can the e-commerce players and the telecom players also have an interoperability of logistics infrastructure? There is a mobile money agent in every town. At Konakamdin, there are several of them. So why can't the e-commerce players work with the mobile money players as well, so that they can leverage on that infrastructure? My honey could be delivered to the mobile money agent in Konakamdin, and somehow it gets delivered to me. That way, we will be developing platforms that are inclusive of every person in the sector of the economy. The guys at the top of the pyramid and the people at the bottom of the pyramid, and everyone would be happy. The e-commerce players would have more transactions, so they make more money. The lady at Konakamdin will have a new customer who normally wouldn't be there because I would not be traveling there every day. And also, she gets an income. Everyone is involved. Our e-commerce economy has to be inclusive. For it to benefit everyone, it has to really be inclusive. And that's not a charitable thing to do, actually. It is a profitable thing to do. The mobile revolution has shown us that if you develop a system or a solution that includes everyone from the top of the pyramid to the bottom of the pyramid, one, you laugh all the way to the bank, but two, everyone benefits in that economy. Thank you.
Very well, thank you. You're talking about Konakamdin, I'm talking about my deep down village, Nyamango. Well, Mehdi, let's wind up with your commitment to your customers, and in 30 seconds, please.
So our commitment would be one that guarantees consistency. The value you get from shopping on Lusuku for the first time should be the same value you would get 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. And it should only get better, but nothing less.
All right. Thank you so much. Timothy, wrap it up in 30 seconds.
I think we still need to know that Damali makes quite amazing points. We are not reaching as many people as we should, and we should get to innovate for our country, get to innovate for our services that are going across the divide, and try to look at the markets and the segment of people that we are not reaching currently. For those that we reach currently, it is very, very important that we continue to give them the proper value for money through assortment, through signing on more vendors, making it easy for them to manage their virtual shops, and also get to train as many partners as possible to come on board and get to support this. Because I believe with proper partnerships, it makes it more profitable for us to continue working for everyone in e-commerce.
All right, thank you so much. And lastly, Nicholas, share with us your commitment to your customers in 30 seconds.
No, I mean, I think for us, we're going to try and innovate and extend our business to allow the people in that ecosystem, so border drivers, our customers, now merchants, be able to deliver a good experience. So that's kind of like what we're focusing on, and we're taking it a day at a time. So yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining us on this morning's panel, and also now welcoming Wesley, who is the host, to take us through the rest of the program. But please, you can follow me down for photography.
Another hand of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're getting something out of this. By the end of this particular session, at least 1 or 2, 3 things that you didn't know about FinTechs, you'll definitely be able to know. At this particular time, ladies and gentlemen, allow me welcome the CEO Hi People, Mr. Innocent Kawoya.
Thank you, King of Radio. Without wasting any time, ladies and gentlemen, allow me welcome a gentleman, an honorable minister, a member of parliament, Chigolovia, and one that has supported youth in Uganda for so many times, in engineering and in technology. Our very own patron, Honorable Karubanga David, to come and say something.
Thank you, my brother Innocent, the CEO of Hi People. I'm honored to be here, definitely, during this time when you celebrate 40 days of 40 FinTechs. But before that, I would like to request you to stay safe. That is by giving you a message from COVID-19. I've seen we are in an enclosed place, and many of you have decided to feel so comfortable and forgotten the masks. Those masks are equivalent to 80%. Now, if 80% of us put on the masks, are equivalent to a complete lockdown. So kindly keep the masks on so that we don't. So that will keep our country safe. I would like to thank Hi People for organizing this function, the various members from the FinTechs, all our invited guests, the media, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Karubanga, and I'm the Minister of State for Public Service. There's no such a moment like this which I would have loved to attend. FinTechs are driving the country into the best direction, where government has a very limited role. I was talking to my friend Innocent, and he told me there are about 68 FinTechs. I see most of you are in the .com era. The banks are quite few, and we've had challenges. So government appreciates the role of fintechs. They play a very big role, especially in financial services and by promoting financial inclusion, which is for socioeconomic transformation. Especially, it impacts greatly to the people at the bottom of the pyramid. I've had many presenters here and the panelists talking about the bottom of the pyramid. That is the biggest region we are all interested in. And I would really like to thank you for complementing government in addressing that challenge of financial inclusion. The population of Uganda is about 42 million. Before the advent of the FinTechs, we had serious challenges. But when you go down there, you realize that we are really beginning to create a very big impact. Of course, there are challenges which have been mentioned. Internet access, the cost of data, and as you know, Uganda is a mountainous country in some areas. I've had the figure for our internet access is quite low compared to some of our countries, but we have hope we'll go there. We have a challenge of illiteracy. It is still big, and you have to accept. That's why I had one of the panelists talking about the simplicity of the user interface. It's still a big problem. Many people feel that some of these platforms are so difficult, they can't really use them. So if you can innovate more by having simpler interfaces, the Kabiriti way from Kamudin, I think that one will help us so much. Of course, we have challenges of these hackers, what we call, those are IT terrorists. If you neglect that, you can really collapse in one day. So those hackers, information or system security through the piracy is a big challenge, which we know as government. But government is trying to do a lot to make sure that they collaborate with international organizations to address the issue of hackers. Recently, you could have read in social media where some good Africans from Nigeria, actually I don't know what I should call that one, very rich, good following, but if you follow, it is through hacking. So that challenge is big, and I know most of you, the FinTechs, you are experiencing it. And many times when you are hit, you don't cry loud, but we are requesting you to bring up these challenges, especially of the hackers, to government so that conclusive investigations are done and the culprits are brought to book. What is government doing? Of course, some of these challenges are driven by the market forces, for example, the cost of data. But for connectivity, government is doing a lot. Recently, you had the license for MTN renewal was delayed. Of course, there is a policy which government has put in, and that is all aimed at ensuring that the wananchi have quality access, fast faster links, expanding the connectivity, the access, as opposed to being where there are pockets of clients only, and that is one of them. Government has been expanding the national broadband interconnectivity, that is the NBI, through the laying of optic fiber. Okay. Government has done that, and almost the entire country is being connected, so government is doing a lot. Government has put up the state-of-the-art innovation hub that is now called an innovation village. So many innovators are called upon to take advantage of this, and there is considerable funding from government. Of course, there is the issue of tariffs. These ones are determined at parliamentary level. I know most of you could have gone to the OTT, but that one is not so big. But if you compare our cost of internet, of course, we are a bit far from the sea. Our internet connection is not so expensive. I would like to call upon you to take advantage of this policy of government, especially encouraging the usage of homemade solutions, because that's our policy. We have many systems which are still manual, but government has put in place a policy of BUBU, Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. And on this, even we're encouraging the usage of homemade solutions, where we'll have many of our youth, local companies to take up that challenge, as opposed to buying a very expensive solutions from abroad. Of course, I would like to thank High People, finally, for organizing this, the partners, and the panelists. Of course, not forgetting the FinTechs for this wonderful presentation. And as I conclude, I'd like to request you to stay safe by ensuring that you practice the safe measures of having the mask on, of washing your hands frequently, and keeping a safe distance. I thank you.
Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was supposed to go first. I was told that I have to go last because the microphone has to be readjusted because of the voice. Before I take my seat, just allow me to introduce my panelists. I just thought I would test the seat and see if everything is in order. Allow me to introduce my guests. Very good afternoon yet again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Arnold Sagawa. Some of you might have seen me. I'm sure many of you saw me on the television just yesterday. I happen to be a news anchor for NTV Uganda. If you haven't watched 9 o'clock, I don't know where you've been living. It's very fascinating for us to go on about fintech and financial inclusion and ignore the elephant in the room, which is that we have a population that is predominantly female. 51% of Ugandans happen to be women. So for us to think of ourselves as furthering financial inclusion or talking about fintech without having the elephant in the room discussed, which is the women, would be, for me, a waste of time. Without any further ado, allow me to introduce the women who are breaking the ceiling and breaking barriers and redefining each and everything that we know about finance today. Miss Doreen Lukandwa, who is the head of marketing at Bionic. From MTN Uganda, we have Miss Primera Mutoni, who's a product specialist. Then Miss Kamau Wanjaki, who is with the True African. She's also the head of business operations. And Smart24 TV CEO, Miss Jackie Arinda. And finally, we do have Your Uganda's Miss Penny Kamusime, who is a manager of customer experience. Ladies, thank you again for making time to join this exquisite panel. My word, we should have had 3 hours. Yes, after testing the seats, it's always good, you know, to be a good host. You have to make sure that everyone is very comfortable. Like I said before, for me the biggest issue is us to have such seminars and conferences and symposiums, and we do not address the elephant in the room, which is the country, the region, the continent, the world is predominantly female. But if we were to look at the disparity in terms of gender, when it comes to financial inclusion, when it comes to fintechs, when it comes to entrepreneurs in the fintech space, the gap is just massive. We're talking about 10 percentage points, according to the World Bank. Let me start with maybe someone who's more into the entrepreneurial space, Miss Penny Kamusime. Just give me a sense of how hard you've had it when it comes to women being maybe embroidered into this particular space. Miss Penny?
I'm here?
Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. When it comes to women being embroidered in this space, I'll say that initially when I started the fintech industry, I realized that most of the guys in the industry were men. So I asked myself, why are there so many women? There are women who feel like, you know what, that space is for men, so we can't really go there. So there's that, how can I call this, that lack of confidence that they have. And then also, women are not supported by men. For example, I'll give now, like in the villages, the men feel like, why would you go into this business? I am the head of the family, I'll provide this and that. So women find it very hard to actually get capital, to actually start entrepreneur businesses.
Primera, I want to hear from you. MTN has tried to maybe further this divide, well, not further it, but bridge the particular divide. Primera, just talk more onto this particular gap. And I mean, she's giving us a different experience. Just give me a sense of how it is.
I'd like to talk about it from the aspect of me as an employee, in terms of being employed in an organization where we are handling fintech services. Over the years I've worked in the fintech space or in the product space, I develop products. I haven't felt a big gap because of working in a company that is very rich on diversity and rich on inclusion within the space. I have not felt that because I'm a lady, that the nature of work provided for me to do is different from my male counterparts. I haven't had that experience in terms of where I work.
Super. Definitely MTN is a place to be for a lady. Jackie, what say you?
I can say that as women, looking at financial inclusion, I don't see the gap, but yes, when it comes to technology, we are a bit excluded. And if you go back to UNEB results and looking at the performance of girls when it comes to science subjects is still not very good. I mean, it's something we are not proud of. And I think it goes back to the environment, the values and beliefs that we have as women, that we are supposed to sweep the compound because we can't slash the garden. So I think we have, as women who are mothers, and as women, we have to talk to our sisters and convince them. And actually, even when you go back to families, you will hear a father talking to a son to take up an engineering job, but you will hear them telling them to go and learn how to be a receptionist. So for mothers, they are more focused on subjects that, in the country every day, Honorable Janet and the First Lady has said we are good in English, and it is a fact that ladies were good in English. But when it comes to the technicalities in technology, we are excluded. So I think there is a gap.
It's quite sad that a gender is actually relegated to being able to read. Doreen and Wanjaki, you can just speak to this. Because part of the biggest problem that has been highlighted is the mere fact that STEM, sciences, technology, engineering, and the mathematics of this world, when it comes to performance, again, what you're addressing, Jackie, still, there's a massive gap there. And for us to think that overnight we're going to have women entrepreneurs in this particular space, well, literally dreaming. Wanjaki, you can just touch that, the STEM issue, and Doreen, you'll just wrap it up.
Okay. I would say what Jackie has said in Primera is that we need to educate our girls, and it needs to start from a young age, the same way she has said that, a dad will speak to his son and say that you need to study engineering and you need to study technology. And, they'll tell us you should be a receptionist or you should work in the hospitality industry. I think it starts at home, and it starts also when we tell our daughters that they can be anything that they really want to be.
Doreen?
Yeah, I think I agree with everybody on the panel. I think that even just as women sitting on this stage, we have a responsibility to show other women and girls that some of these things are possible. But I think going back to what we mean by fintech, we are literally using technology to bridge the gap between traditional access to traditional services with the underserved. So when we talk about fintech, it goes way beyond just technology. It goes way beyond just being a CEO of a company. It has a lot to do with access to essential services. You have fintechs that are providing education at a young age. You have fintechs that are providing healthcare. You have fintechs that are providing daycare services. So it's not necessarily about you having to be locked in a technology space. It's about innovating solutions that address a need. And I think we also have to be willing to admit that we are dealing with legacy issues that have been carried from way back, from our forefathers, our grandparents, etc. And it's our responsibility to change that, whether it is now, whether it is with our children, but it is our responsibility to show people that there is more to women. Like Primera said, we can do what the men can do, but we have to be able and willing to show that behaviors can be changed and people have a right and ability to access the services that they need to access.
I remember so many moons ago when I was sitting for A-level, there was an issue around the women, the ladies at the time, I want to call them that, having an extra percent. And it caused a stir because on one end, some argued it impedes them and it may be, what's the right word? You get used to something for so long and it kind of undoes whatever good it's supposed to do. Is it time for us to think vis-a-vis the STEMs for women? Is it time for us to have a sort of a policy shift and move? Because we can't wake up and say, oh, boo-boo is here. and now we're going to get, Ugandan-made fintech solutions. No. So I want to address this from at least the policy side. I want to hear from all of you. Policy-wise, how do we address this particular issue? What can be done? What can be the long-hanging fruit that can be addressed, maybe in the near term, 2 years? I want to start with you. And please, kindly just adjust the mic. We're having some issues picking this out. No, lower? No, thank you.
Policy-wise, I believe already the government has provided, I think it's compulsory for all science subjects. But I realize that in schools, all they do is just teach. Like you have the knowledge, but they have not gone further ahead to actually tell these ladies and gents that, you know what, these ladies can also help you with do this. But then they have also not gone ahead to also tell them that, you know what, you can do anything. Because personally, for myself, I actually learned that, you know what, I can do anything I want. Initially, I knew, okay, this is what I'm good at, what I'm going to concentrate at, but I learned it over time. So this is really lacking in schools. There's that confidence building. And with the parents these days, I drop you at school, I pay your fees, I pay all the bills, that is it, I'm done. I don't sit you down and I can tell you, you know what, this is good and you should actually. So I think the policy should also concentrate more on families, encouraging families to actually put this, and then also to the schools, making sure that these educational and awareness sensitization in schools is actually done and it's followed through.
Jackie, let me hear from you. Let's be cognizant of the fact that when we talk fintech, I don't know how many people in the room know some programming languages: SQL, PHP, Java, C#. I see you're nodding, Doreen. Besides learning about the Canadian prairies that we learned about and the raw industrial region that is actually gone and dusted, there's no more coal in Germany. God knows they moved away from that. Should we be teaching people about maybe Bill Gates, maybe Elon Musk, maybe Tesla, and things like that, and readjust our curriculum? Jackie?
Just to clarify, as for looking at data, because we believe data and facts really help us to plan for the future. Now, looking at mobile connections in the country as a data reporter, it shows Uganda is one of the countries that is performing poorly when it comes to mobile connections. It is at 26.8, so this is general. Now, 26.8, that means that it is no longer about women here. We have innovation hubs, and when you look around the innovation hubs, now the question would be, what have we portrayed outside Uganda? We have seen Tura, EV, we have seen actually apps being developed, we have seen all that coming up. But the question remains, why is it that we are not seeing more? So it's, at this point, I would love to say that it is no longer about women, but also the government needs to empower the innovation hub and give them the rights. I don't know if it is about copyrights, but I don't really know why we see innovation hubs year after year, government after government, but we don't see the results. So I believe if only we could have maybe events like these where we portray, we show what Uganda has brought up, because technology is here to provide solutions. So even if you pass it as a policy, I can go back to school, and I was forced to take science, and my worst was chemistry. And they even provided a tutor to teach me chemistry, and I would see O2 or something, and I would not connect. But I was forced to do it. Why? Because I knew after senior 4, I would do my arts. So even forcing them, once they get their certificate, they will go for what they want. So I don't think here we should force a child to do what they don't want.
You just reminded me of those chemistry equations. H2, hydrogen plus oxygen is equal to H2O. Wanjaki, I see you nodding to some extent, but not so much. Just try and address this STEMS issue.
I would say that while in education, like you said, that should we start to talk more about the Bill Gates and should we start talking about Elon Musk, etc. I think that the more that we educate people, yes, we hope the more that they are going to want to learn. But I think it has to start with you as a person, for you to decide on what it is that you want. You can decide that you want to get into tech. You can decide that you want to be a chef. And what's the most important thing in all of those is that you must do the research. You must put the work behind it if that is what you want to do. I don't think forcing anybody to be able to do something because...
No, not necessarily forcing. What I'm saying is, besides attacking British Columbia and learning about how they're fishing,
Yes.
why aren't we hearing about Madame Curie, someone who was at the forefront, a woman who was at the forefront, God knows she lost her life, discovering plutonium and its effects? Isn't that the direction that we need to be heading towards, as opposed to an outdated curricula?
I agree. The curriculum has to change, and again, it has to start as well with government for them to understand and change that the curriculum that you used 10 years ago or 20 years ago is not what needs to be used now. So it is changing that, but of course it starts with us, is that we also have to ask for the change. We have to go in there and say, you know what, I think that these are some of the things that our girls or even the boys need to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Doreen, let me hear from you. I'm sure you did so exceptionally well at the biology.
Thank you. So I think I agree with what everybody has said, literally. But I think that it goes well beyond that. I think that we actually need to be setting examples that people can look up to, that girls can look up to. If you're talking about Bill Gates or whoever that may be, it would be nice to hear of homegrown businesses run by women that are thriving. A good example, again, like Bionic that I work for, was recently merged with a company called MFS Africa. The founder is Ugandan, started here and has scaled the business to a level where somebody else has appetite in it. But the CEO of this company is a woman. And even for me working in that company, I aspire to be greater than what I am right now. So I think in addition to what everybody has said, we need to be working with government, with organizations like FITSPA, with all these different partners, whether it's telcos or banks or whatever. I mean, Stanbic recently hired or, promoted a women.
The CEO, yes.
Thank you very much. So all those are just powerful examples that are being set for women to follow. Everybody says, oh, maybe I could be that person if
I can. I think I can is the right word.
Thank you very
yes,
much.
Not I
so
could.
if there are more examples like that for us to look up to, then the sky is the limit, because then you've whet my appetite to take on the sciences. You've whet my appetite to innovate. You've whet my appetite to try out different technological aspects.
Doreen, you've touched on a particular issue that I wanted Primera to actually address. There's a Deloitte report that it was so fascinating. The issues that you've all highlighted are the issues that this particular lady highlighted on the issues that are holding back women in fintech. And this is what she had to say. The biggest challenges are three. One is the fact that too few women work in fintech companies. That's one. The other is there are few founders who are women, and they're underrepresented when it comes to the fintech user base. So already you have a three-pronged challenge that you're facing getting into it. You add the lack of stems, or should I say people who you look up to initially. Primera, just touch more on this vis-a-vis what everyone else has said.
Oh, thank you very much. I have enjoyed what they have talked about. And for me, I am actually a woman in STEM. I have had a 4-year degree in engineering, and I have actually studied marketing. And one of those important things has been my environment, in terms of giving me the support to be able to explore myself. Not just because I finished an engineering degree and moved into the STEM world, I'm also given the opportunity to be able to go out and study marketing in its entirety. One of the major things has been confidence, really, when it comes to women. We finish the 4-year degree, or you are a woman in STEM, and then all of a sudden you don't have the confidence to actually step out and look for something else to do. Look for other women co-founders and decide, you know what, this is an amazing idea. I would like to go out and do it. Then the other thing I've seen is the skill set. It is really lacking in the ecosystem. And this is not just about women in STEM at the leadership levels. For us to be able to get to the leadership levels means we started at some point. The skill set I required 10 years ago when I reached the employment space is not what I need today. Like, the environment has really changed. So a few weeks back, I was invited by a certain hub locally that is actually doing a lot of work in edutech. And it was so interesting to see women who are moving away from an HR position to become a software developer. I was super impressed by just that. That confidence to be able to say, you know what, I'm done with the HR space and I want to be able to move to a tech space. So I'm like, it is opening up new dimensions, and the fact that even the development of such a curriculum, the edutech curriculum, to be able to teach these women to do software development is something that is homegrown.
But my issue isn't particularly the women who are here. The women who are here, you guys are good. You guys are sorted. My issue is, how often, in just one line, how often do my 5 panelists here go to Gayaza, go to Masindi High School, girls, and just talk to these ladies, and just talk to these young girls before their mind is made up that they are good for writing, and they are good for English, like someone said, which is just absurd. How often should you ladies be out there, being the face, and telling everybody that, guess what, this can be done, you can do it? How often do you guys do that?
Literally every other week, but the number of women are still few, so we are not able to cover all the schools that we should at the same time. But it's a work in progress.
Okay, ladies, I've just been warned that I've run out of time. Clearly, this should have been maybe 2 hours. Very briefly, maybe we could touch on the issue of mobile phones. Now, the phone kind of just, I hate using the word disrupted, but it literally just disrupted financial inclusion and FinTechs and whatever. Give me a sense of, in a very, very few lines, if financial inclusion and ultimately the prosperity of the FinTech space is inseparable from mobile phone and internet penetration in Uganda or even the region. Let me start with you.
Looking at the phone and internet penetration, I would say that whereas the big MNOs have tried to reach the rural areas, there are still areas that are lacking. I had a discussion recently with someone, and I asked her how many people own a phone in the village, and she told me mostly it's the men, but not the women. So I asked, why don't they have phones? She told me they don't know how to read, because most of them didn't study fast. So if you give her a phone, she's just going to receive. She won't use it for anything. Maybe trying to say, let me try to get an app. Let me see what can, if I press maybe start something, what will it do? No, they don't know all that. So most of them will actually not use the phone for any financial services or anything like that.
Guys, I'm being warned all the time. Jackie?
Yes, when it comes to mobile phones, I go back to the 26.6 mobile connections. That's the percentage in Uganda as of January to 2020. And when you look at financial inclusion connected with women, is that most women in rural areas, they are not connected to phones. Why? Because of one, husbands that say, you know what, mobile phones are going to connect you to some other person that I don't need in this marriage. So they are controlled by that. And secondly, most of the women, as you know, the MasterCard index for women entrepreneurship, who are the top in entrepreneurial skills. But when it comes to such services, they think they are expensive. They would rather stay in their circles, the informal service providers, than connect to mobile phones. And lastly, as I can say, is that for us women, like I say, when it comes to technology and understanding things, it's really still a challenge for us. So we are still performing poorly, but I guess like telecom companies, they should maybe start advertising promotions for women that are directly for women, like the way I see other telecom companies are spearheading with men. I actually, on the billboards, I'm very keen. I usually look at billboards and even the package they are promoting.
Right.
Yes, and I must say that telecom companies, they're helping to include women.
Ms. Funjeki.
With 54%, only 54% of women in Uganda have phones. So it starts with, it's a cultural issue. I think that when you begin to explain, and I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate that you have to start with the head of the home, who will, once you explain to them the reason why she needs a phone, she'll be able to get loans, she'll be able to get money, she'll be able to open up a bank account, and the reasons why, if he allows her to be able to do that, then she will elevate the family. So I think that, yes, it is a cultural issue, and once we start to educate them, they'll educate them. And we have like mobile networks, as has been said by the ladies, is that mobile networks need to go out there more, need to educate these women more, as well as banks going out there as well to educate them and tell them, it's easy for you to open up a bank account if you have a phone. It doesn't even need to be a smartphone. So I think that's the way that we would go.
Doreen?
I think the nuances around bridging the gap for women in the space are quite vast, quite broad. There's a lot that needs to be tackled. Steps are being made to achieve that, but we still have a long way to go, as everybody has said. But I think that there are very many ways to skin a cat. It does not mean that you must have a phone to be financially included. You have vouchers, you have cards, there's so many ways that we can achieve this. And that is the role that FinTech plays. That is the role that technology plays.
Right.
And that is what we need to be educating people about, the possibilities of innovation.
Thank you for that, Primera. You have the last word. Everyone is talking about telcos and telcos this and telcos the other. Please.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with what they all have said. Women are still earning much, much less in terms of their everyday life. And they do not have access sometimes to be able to buy devices. Sometimes they're still a bit expensive to buy a smartphone for the average income of a lady or a woman who is especially not living in an urban environment, which is one of the biggest things. So we also need to look at that in terms on the government side and also phone providers in terms of anyone who is importing phones into the country, to bring in affordable devices that can be used by everyone equally.
Right, ladies, many thanks for that. And for my esteemed panelists, allow me to just introduce them yet again. With Bionic, we do have Ms. Doreen Lukandwo, who's the head of marketing. MTN Uganda's Primera Mutoni, who is a product specialist, and a true African, Munjaki Kamau, who is the head of business operations. Smart 24 TV CEO, Jackie Arinda, and of course, last but not least, Ms. Penny Kamsime, who is manager customer experience at Your Uganda. At this particular point, thank you very much, I'm Arnold Segawa. Let me hand over to the very esteemed host, Mr. Wesley. There's a lot of misses, yes. I almost called him Miss.
Thank you very much. Please, let's give them another hand of applause, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow this gentleman. There is some that actually you need to do out there a little bit. Well, thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting more time, allow me to invite the CEO, hi people, Mr. Innocent Kawaii, one more time. Thank you.
Thank you once again, King of Wesley. We're coming to the end of today's session. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Allow me to take this opportunity to invite one very special lady. I first knew about her as a spokesperson of Uganda Police Force. She became an honorable member of parliament. She's now our Minister of ICT and National Guidance, and we're proud to host her as the 40 Days for FinTechs and High People. Thank you so much. We are glad to host you, Honorable.